on, you Spurs. Welcome to Come on, you Spurs TV podcast, where we dissect every win, every month, every loss. I wonder why our mascot isn't like a real literal giant Spur. I'm your host, Soji Fagade, and with me today is our in-house guru and Spurs aficionado extraordinaire is Chuma. Chuma is here with us, and if you're ready to laugh, cry, and question your life choices, you're in the right place. Welcome aboard. Chuma, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderfully well. I think I'll add there that Soji and I are your guides through the roller coaster of emotions that is Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And
Absolutely.
This week's emotion is mourning a loss.
Exactly.
Exactly. But as we are the purveyors of positivity, we are the positive Tottenham podcast after all, aka Optimus Podcast. We would say fertiliser for growth. Failure is literally fertilizer for growth. So this loss is literally just another battle scar that will get hardened and turn us into champions.
It's interesting you say that, but before we go do all of that, do you want to take us through the housekeeping?
Of course. If this is your first time watching this channel and watching this podcast, welcome to Come On, You Spurs TV. Just ask a little favor. Click on the subscribe button, notification bell, let you know when we bring out new content. Click on the like for the algorithm. Comment. Let us know what you think about the channel, direction of the channel. Comment on anything you'd like to know about Spurs in general, football as well. And as always, we are Come On, Ye Spurs.
Yeah, welcome back. Tottenham go to St. James's Park and come away 4-0 losers. That wasn't on the script, was it?
No, it wasn't. But at least it's a 2-goal improvement from last year.
Well, you have to take positives, don't you?
You take a positive out of every negative. We conceded 2 less goals. No, definitely wasn't in the script. And if you go by the first 20 minutes, I think, which actually it was like it was actually funny from a sad point of view, funny but still funny. Was Tottenham fans were like, first 21 minutes we conceded like 3 or 4 goals last year. So as soon as it went to minute 22, there was a sigh of relief. Little did we know what was in store for us. But when it got to minute 22, we were actually playing quite well. And Timo Werner had chance and probably a half chance after that as well. So we were feeling really pretty. Maddison was moving around, dancing. The ball was moving. Bissouma was okay. Bentancur in midfield. And then Johnson as well was testing their left back. It looked pretty good from the start, but as with all things Spurs, I think things start to change when you play Ange ball if you don't take your chances early. And Newcastle themselves have come up with a novel way to deal with our inverted fullbacks. They exploited the space behind. We literally only had Vicario, Romero, and Van de Ven. Once they just breached the high line, it was them in two good forward players in Gordon and Isak who can carry a ball, and that cost Spurs. But all in all, even with the loss, I like you said, maybe I've been bitten with the Optimus bug. I'm still so very optimistic, as in I know that this is a plan A that can work. He doesn't want to go to a plan B. Everyone is screaming, Ange, be more pragmatic. Be more pragmatic. We can actually win more if you're more pragmatic. But I think these same people will turn if we turn pragmatic and we lose.
All right. So, these are times when all of those who say, we told you so at the beginning of the season, saying that when Ange comes from the Scottish League, that this is the Premier League, it's not the Scottish League, it's not the Japanese League, it's not, not Australia, But look, you've got to adapt your game. You can't, adopt one strategy and hope that nothing changes and you hope to win on that basis. Now, what do you say to those people who say, look, Ange is a one-trick pony, right? and if he doesn't, go the one way, that's it. Doesn't have a plan B, doesn't have a plan C, and he doesn't adapt his game to suit the opponents, or especially the situation in a match, and doesn't make changes that would help him turn the game around in a way that would ensure that we get the results we're looking for. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say that people are guilty of a bit of a slight bit of discrimination, because you could level the same claims against Jurgen Klopp, you can level the same claims against Pep Guardiola, you could even level it against the man who is the star man of the moment, Unai Emery. They play the same way. They don't change what they do. Jurgen Klopp is actually the one I would say closest to, um, not closest to Angie's philosophy, but closest to how much of a cultural and football change Liverpool had to undergo when he took over. They had Brendan Rodgers, who was quite almost tiki-taka-ish in the way he deployed Liverpool. And then Jurgen Klopp shows up with his rock and roll. Everybody must press football. And Liverpool took a tonking. Let's not forget, Tottenham were part of the teams that destroyed Liverpool during that period. We won 4-0 at a point, I think, 2018, when he was still trying to get his side to be what they are now. It took time. They conceded 63 goals or 70 goals that season, his first season there. I'm not saying Ange Postecoglou is Jurgen Klopp. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying it's the same thing. It's a mindset shift. It is a tactical shift. It is a stylistic shift. And these things take time. But once they become automatic, as we are seeing with the teams topping the league at the moment, it works. Mikel Arteta did the same thing as well. I'll add him as well, even though we don't talk about those people down the road. But he did the same thing and finished eighth, fifth. And now here he is challenging regularly. Where were all these naysayers when he was
Well, I think.
performing
Well,
poorly?
let's just sort of put a little note on that. We hope they keep challenging and never win. That's what we want, isn't it? Yes.
Oh, well. Let's just say every it's such an interesting weekend that people actually believe that Spurs fans would want them to win, and Villa, because Spurs won fourth. Spurs say no. We'll sacrifice fourth, please. Aston Villa, do your work, and
No,
God
no.
bless the Villa. Up the Villa,
I think the top
up
of the
the Villa.
banter, the top banter was that Arsenal was so, against us getting fourth place that they lost to Villa. you know,
well, well,
they're so
well,
obsessed
well,
with us.
well, from a certain point of view, it is. But no, it was. I look at what Ange Postecoglou is doing, and he is certain profile of player away from actually producing really dominant football. The real issue Tottenham has at the moment is there's a slight disconnect between defense and midfield, because I don't think he has a sitting midfield that he's happy with. Bissouma is really not a six, even though we loved him at the start of the season. But if you go back and watch those games and take off your lily white tinted glasses, you would notice that he was roaming around a lot. He wasn't actually a fixed player. But since he came back to the side, he's now actually staying more fixed, and that's affected him. He has this. There's this thing the Brazilians call malandro. Malandro is a spirit. It's called, they call it the black spirit, the African spirit, the slave spirit. It's the thing that makes them free. It's the Ronaldinho thing. And if you watch Bissouma at the start of the season, he's dancing, he's moving with the ball. He doesn't care about losing possession. But now it seems he's trying to become more disciplined, and in trying to become that player, he's become less secure. And to be honest with you, I was surprised at the lineup, because I thought Bentancur and Højbjerg changed the previous game. So I thought Ange was going to give them a shot, but Ange has really persisted with Bissouma for whatever reason. I think really giving him a chance to really cement himself. So he started with Bissouma, Bentancur, and Madison. Madison as well hasn't come back to his sparkling best, but that is understandable because of the injuries.
Yeah. So I guess what we're saying here is that, look, even with the what I call the area of talent to choose from. We've got pretty much the whole squad, if you like, back fit, give or take one or two people who and weren't really fit. I mean, Richarlison had a knee knock, and of course, Sunderland was never really a regular. But so, I mean, vast majority of what you might call the first teamers, if you like, and the what you might call the backup group, if you know, what you might call a match relevant match day squad was there to choose from, and so that gave me a lot of options in terms of, and you think that on a good day, when we have a full complement of folks to choose from, we shouldn't be facing this sort of defeat that we faced against Fulham and now against Newcastle. I mean, how do you account for that sort of thing?
It was the first things first. You and I usually used to note this in previous seasons. 12:30. You know, there's a bit of a bit of a village people element on 12:30 and Spurs.
And the Baltimore script, right? Strip.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. So there are two things. For those of you, you've watched a previous episode where we mentioned Baltimore, star fruit, cherry fruit, whatever you want to call it. But that kit, that off brown or whatever it is kit that Tottenham wear should be banned. It should be publicly burned next to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Every fan should bring their copy of that kit and burn it, because that thing has been nothing but bad luck to us. Starting with Bisuma's red card, actually, that was wearing that kit at Luton. It started our downfall per se.
I think the best result we had in that case was against Luton away when we won, right? And then
the City draw as well was wearing that.
Yeah, exactly, City draw. Yeah, but apart from those two times, I mean, we haven't really played well. It's been a shambles. Had that kit on, doing that absolute shambles,
So once you saw the two things, you were already thinking in your head, yeah, this isn't going to go very well. 12:30 kickoff, and every time we go, I think north as well, and it's 12:30, because I think we're driving to Newcastle. I don't think they stay overnight in the hotels. I don't think they flew.
Oh, I'm not sure if they do for the 12:30 kickoff. I think they'll probably stay overnight. They fly overnight in.
Did they fly overnight? Okay. Yeah. So, but it's just that 12:30. I just think there's this thing. I had this discussion with my uncle once about athletes and how they time their bodies for sport. So if you know your games kick off at 3, you will have a morning routine, warm up, warm down kind of thing. But this 12:30 and probably very late night football, I think it's also the adjustment to Champions League for some teams. That's why teams are coming to Champions League for the first time. Some of them do poorly because their players are not used to playing at 8 p.m. too much. They're used to playing the 3 p.m.s, maybe 4, 5. So you look at it and then look at 12:30. I've always looked at it as, I don't think footballers really enjoy 12:30 games, except you're playing at home. Even if you're playing at home,
that, I mean, it affects both teams. Why should we be the one that's
no? But if you're playing at home, you're coming from your house, though. So you're coming from your house. That's cool. That's good. But if you're coming from somewhere else, it could be a challenge. But I don't know. Anyway, it's just my excuse for them. I just think, for whatever reason, they switched off. This wasn't. I honestly don't think it was on Ange. I think it was on the players, and they let themselves down. You could see it from Madison's presser at the end of it, where he said, "Yeah, it's down to the players. We couldn't really step up. We couldn't really, and goodness knows how much fuel it gave so many people that have been saying, yes, Spurs' problems. This validates Conte. It validates Mourinho. It's something about Spurs players." But they're different players, though. So is it that we're buying the same type of player, or what is it? But it just didn't go right. But it's not, to me, it's not an indictment on Ange and his philosophy. It's just that he needs to get the right guys, and we'll be flying.
Okay, so bad day at the office, what do I want to call it? It didn't do so. We didn't, perform as well as we could have, and very, very disappointing on many levels. And like we said in the headline at the start of the program, that look, this is maybe part of the fertilizer for our growth, going forward. Because if we take the positive and say, look, we learn lessons from this, and hopefully those lessons will help us in getting better going forward. We have, a tough match ahead. We've got a couple of weeks break ahead of the match against the guys up the road. Now, it's all those. I don't want to call it a season defining game in terms of what it means to Tottenham, because for us, we never want to lose to those guys up the road, right? And as much as possible, if when we do win, we will have put a very, very severe dent in their hopes of doing anything this season of substance. So, yeah, I mean, I guess our guys will be up for that. But that shouldn't be the prime motivation of us going to that game. The prime motivation should be going to that game, win that game, regardless of who your position is. And once I'm sure that, Iron will have dribbled that into them well enough. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to that match. I'm sure we'll do a preview at near the time, But we can't wait for the next one to come. It's a shame it's taken 2 weeks for it to materialize. But hey,
No,
that's just the nature of
it. I think there are lots of things that go into the game because, people were screaming for Kulusevski to be dropped after some disappointing displays. Not necessarily that Kulusevski is a disappointing player, but mainly that he set certain standards, especially in his first season when Conte brought him in, that he's not quite reached. But there's something there. But one of the important elements of him that was missing in that game against Newcastle, in my opinion, was the fact that Kulusevski is very hard to shake off the ball, so he can carry it a bit more.
Mhm.
When Tottenham are trying to play through and they lose the ball, it instantly turns to a transition for Newcastle. And Newcastle punished us. We just kept losing the ball in the final third. If you had someone like Kulusevski that could hold on to the ball, possibly push it further, but we don't know what he's going to do. He's going to cut into his left foot. But even though that's predictable, you'd have someone like Werner on the other side. I think I understand why Andrew's playing Kulusevski and Werner. But because of Brennan Johnson's good form, he has no choice but to play him because it's a meritocracy. But Werner is always going to run past his fullback. Kulusevski is always going to cut inside. So it's kind of like a good marriage. Unfortunately for both guys, their end product with Werner is not the crosses. Yes, Werner is the finishing. We really need. I kept thinking of Mitoma at Brighton, a guy who can dribble and he can score. If we had a Mitoma playing Werner's position, and Werner is excellent, by the way, it's just he's going to get chances in a game, 2-3 chances, and you're not confident that Timo Werner, like all my Chelsea friends keep saying the same thing, that now you understand our frustration with the guy. The guy can burst through, but it's just there's something I think he needs to work on, and I'm hoping in these 2 weeks he can really work on his finishing or his some kind of way that Ange can get his confidence going to finish.
Wouldn't it be just the thing for him to come in the next match and just open the floodgates against those guys? That would just be the icing on the cake, wouldn't it? Anyway,
it would be. We're still going to have the preview, but in my opinion, I think Richarlison was also missed in this game because Richarlison he's that figure that can bother your defenders. They have little big boys in center back positions, and if Son was wide as well, and let's say Werner had done his run, you push Son wide, you bring Richarlison on, you could have probably salvaged something from the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing, like you said, Ange has a huge selection conundrum ahead of him in terms of who is he going to pick. He has a fully fit squad now, so it's like everyone's fighting for places, apart from, let's say, Udogie and Porro, who know that they're nailed on regardless of anything else. But the rest is, and Romero and Van de Ven and Vicario. Those are like the scores. Everyone else, I think, there's grumblings coming up about Lo Celso. There are rumors that Lo Celso is displeased. Atletico Madrid are trying to buy him for 20 million. And I think he's kind of justified because Maddison hasn't really been top form. So let's see what happens. So we'll save all this for the preview.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. We'd love to hear from you what you think. Is this a fertilizer for growth, or is it something else that we should be worried about with Ange's game or Ange's philosophy? We'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments in the comment section. In the meantime, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.